Right now, marching into more cold. It is the first full week of a new month, but the same old story for temperatures. Chris is tracking a wind chill advisory. And Sun Prairie could take the area's harshest stance on bullying this week. How a new proposal would allow police officers to issue citations for any form of harassment. Plus, you can soon get a taste of Chicago right here in Madison. We're talking Italian beef, hot dogs, and chocolate cake coming up.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now This Morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this Sunday, March 3rd. I'm Josh Brighter with meteorologist Chris Reese. Chris, it's not really feeling like March out there. Come on, buddy.
It really doesn't feel like March. We have gone the wrong direction in our temperatures, and now we're going to see some of those temperatures that would be cold for the middle of January, even here in south central Wisconsin. The temperature right now, 6 degrees this morning. We do have those winds out of the north and northwest at 7 miles per hour. Elsewhere, temperatures are below zero. In Camp Douglas, it is -11 right now. That colder air to the north and west continues to filter its way on in. Because of that, we do have wind chill advisories for just about the entire area, excluding Platteville and Vernon County at the moment. But I do think some of these will be added as we go through the rest of the afternoon and evening. Here's how things are shaping up. Wind chills right now anywhere from about -2 to -5 in the immediate area, but check off just to the north and west. In Camp Douglas, the wind chill is already -29, and those colder wind chills will be working their way into the picture. In fact, by tomorrow morning, we could see those wind chills as much as 30 degrees below zero, so things are certainly going to be cold. Let's go ahead and show you guys first alert traffic. If you are headed out and about, the Beltline at Park Street is running completely smoothly this morning. I'm happy to say no issues or delays, Josh.
Well, there's some good news there at least.
Absolutely.
All right, Chris, thank you. It is 6:32 right now, and new overnight, Madison police are looking for the person who shot a 22-year-old man. Officers say they responded to the 1100 block of Mendota Street on the east side around 1 a.m. They didn't find any shell casings there. Officers also responded to Meriter Park Hospital, where the man who was shot is still there this morning. Anyone with information about the shooting should call Madison area Crime Stoppers. And still developing at this hour, part of Fish Hatchery Road just north of the Beltline is shut down after a large wreck there. It happened just after 4 o'clock this morning. No word yet on any injuries or what caused that crash. Stay with Channel3000.com for updates. Right now, the United States Postal Service is asking you to clear all ice and snow from sidewalks, stairs, and mailboxes to help your mail person stay safe. Delivery service may be delayed or restricted this week if streets or sidewalks present hazardous conditions for letter carriers or when snow is plowed against mailboxes. Well, farmers all across the state have reported barns collapsing and a loss of livestock thanks to snow-related damage. The state's agriculture department wants to remind anyone experiencing something like that to report it to an insurance provider as soon as possible. Photos are useful as well. The Federal Farm Service Agency has a number of assistance programs available to help with that, including the livestock, honeybees, and farm-raised fish. There's also a warning about the so-called storm chasers who follow bad weather and try to con people with subpar repair work. On the Fay family farm in Bellevue, heavy snow caused roof damage on one of their structures. Mark Fay says it's not so bad, no animals were hurt, and he's hopeful insurance will cover it. It's just that this long, cold winter is adding to the stress of low milk prices, which the industry has been dealing with for a few years now.
It adds to it because there's so much frustration from the financial side to begin with. And then, yes, you throw in the snow and ice, everything that goes along with this winter. It gets frustrating some days, and that's where it helps to have family.
So far, those in the farming community say many storm-damaged farms are to the north of us. More than half of adults who need mental health services aren't getting them, and according to the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, that's even more pronounced in rural areas. The University of Wisconsin-Madison program is training nurses, hoping to expand services statewide. In the psychiatric mental health care certificate program at UW's nursing school, students take most of their coursework online and can do clinical rotations outside of Madison and throughout the state.
So it's really important that we train and educate providers in communities that they will potentially go back and work in. The more intimately knowledgeable providers are about the communities they're serving in, the better they can tailor services to meet the needs of those communities.
The Psychiatric Mental Health Certificate is an 18-month capstone program for licensed nurses with a master's degree. It is 6:35 right now. Michael Cohen will return to Capitol Hill this week for more testimony. He made the announcement after several straight days of both public and private questioning last week. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff said this week's testimony will be behind closed doors, essentially a continuation of his meeting with the panel Thursday. The IRS says taxpayers are receiving refunds that are about the same size as last year, even with new tax reforms. On average, taxpayers saw about $40 more this year than last year. The new figures take into account refunds given out through last week. The last day to file your taxes for 2018 is Monday, April 15th, although experts recommend doing it sooner to avoid the chance your identity gets stolen. More local news now. The city of Sun Prairie will discuss an anti-bullying ordinance at a meeting this week, which would allow police officers to actually issue citations for any form of bullying. It would apply to any harassment that is physical, verbal, or even online. Sun Prairie parents who support the ordinance say they want a way to hold other parents accountable if their children bully other students. A spokesperson for the school district says administrators haven't taken a stance on the ordinance yet. It will be discussed during the Youth and Family Commission on Thursday. Well, year after year, Madison ranks on a variety of lists, such as a great place to raise your kids, a city with wonderful bike paths, or the general, a great place to live. But some residents would argue against that. Dr. Richard Harris was born and raised in Madison. He's seen a lot in his 80-plus years. Some he wishes he never had. But those experiences made him into the man, the father, grandfather, and community activist he is today. And he's documented all of it in his book called Growing Up Black in South Madison.
I care because half of South Madison is related to me. And, you know, they always ask me, do you want to leave a legacy? That's the book. So it's read the book and you'll see what, what the situation is and, what you're facing.
Find out how Dr. Harris is using his book and his voice to help change Madison for the better. Charlotte Deleste shares this special Do Something Good story ahead in our 7 o'clock hour. Well, starting this week, you no longer need to drive to Rockford or Chicago for your Italian beef fix. Portillo's is officially celebrating the opening of its newest location at Easttown Mall tomorrow morning at 10:30. This is the franchise's 59th location and its third in Wisconsin. It currently has restaurants in Brookfield and Greenfield. If you're not familiar, Portillo's is best known for its Chicago-style hot dogs, hold the ketchup, Italian beef sandwiches, burgers, salads, and, of course, leave some room for the chocolate cake. The Easttown location will also offer something special for cheeseheads, the Badger Brat. Well, this winter's extreme cold canceled school and shut down entire campuses, but one thing it hasn't impacted, the amount of bugs we'll see once things warm up. The cold weather hasn't killed off stink bugs, and it likely won't affect how many bees, ants, ticks, and the ever-popular mosquitoes we see come summer. That's because all of the snow we've been getting has created a layer of insulation on the ground, protecting insects from the cold. Most bugs living in Wisconsin have adapted to our weather. They're used to the cold, even extreme record-breaking conditions, and some species like mosquitoes even thrive in the snowy weather.
Insects in general play a lot of really important roles both for us and for the environment. Insects serve as a base of a lot of food webs, so reptiles and fish and birds rely on insects as a food source. If all the insects disappeared, those animals wouldn't have things to eat.
The cold isn't likely to affect butterfly or firefly populations either. National weather predictions suggest southwestern Wisconsin could see high waters this spring. The weather agency in La Crosse has forecasted an above normal flood risk along the Mississippi River and its tributaries through May. Officials say the deeply frozen ground and snow could cause more runoff in the area. The severity of the flooding will depend on how quickly the snow melts and how much rain the region gets over the next few months. It is 6:39 this morning, and we're waking up with those frigid temps this morning, but just wait until tomorrow and the next day. We are currently under a wind chill advisory, but even colder temperatures are on the way to start off the work week. Chris is tracking it all in his first alert forecast on News 3 Now this morning.
Well, we may be in March, but we are still talking snow totals. These are the final numbers from the snow that we did pick up yesterday. Madison officially at 1.6 inches of snow. Sauk City and Sun Prairie at 1.5. Marshall and North Freedom at 1 inch. Reedsburg was the winner in our area at 2 inches of snow. But for Madison, this next round of snow brings us up to 53.1 inches of snow for the season. And at this point, we're about 1.5 inches above average. And we're going to watch this as we go through the rest of March if we get any more snow around here, just to see where we end up. But no matter what, it's an above average season. And while we're still talking about snow in March, we are also still talking about wind chill advisories. We do have wind chill advisories for just about all of us. Richland County and Grant County not included on this wind chill advisory yet, but there's a gap between the two places. I don't think it's suddenly going to be warm in that gap. The Weather Service just has not filled that in yet. We'll wait for that to be filled in through time. But as we zoom things out, the entire northern tier of the country really dealing with those wind chill advisories along with wind chill warnings through western Minnesota, parts of Nebraska, through the Dakotas and into Montana. We come south through Kansas. That's where we have winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories that go all the way through Missouri, parts of southern Illinois, and into Kentucky. Then towards the East Coast, they're going to be dealing with a winter storm. And so we're watching that system right now skirt by to the south and towards the east. Notice how we are staying dry and full of sunshine across the upper Midwest. What you are seeing is the Arctic high in control of our weather, keeping things cold. In fact, it is 6 degrees out there right now. Winds out of the northwest at 7, 2 in the Dells, 11 below as you work your way up towards Camp Douglas. And the wind chill at Camp Douglas is 29 degrees below zero. In Madison, our wind chill is -6. But you see those colder temperatures or colder wind chills already starting to work their way to the south as this dome of high pressure and honestly a piece of the polar vortex again begins to rotate around the north, settling in over the northeastern half of the country. And so that is what is going to keep things cold as we go through this next several days. In fact, today's high only around 13, tonight's low around -10, but then the wind chills as we get you towards tomorrow morning as cold as 31 degrees below zero. And we're just going to continue to see that cold around here, Josh. So 3 alert days, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday in your forecast for the cold. But hey, at least sunshine for most of the week. I don't think we've said that in a while. Sunshine for the next 5 days looks to be the case, but we do have a chance for snow as we get you towards next Friday and going above freezing perhaps by next Tuesday.
I guess you got to look at the bright side, right?
We always have to look at the bright side, and we need the sunshine. It has been gray for a while, so I think a lot of folks will be happy about that.
A little vitamin D.
Yep.
All right, Chris, thank you. Well, this is perhaps the best news of the week. One of the most beloved dogs in the country is working a new job this weekend. The country fell in love with Sully, the Labrador Retriever best known as the service dog for former President H.W. Bush. The Walter Reed National Military Medical Center has welcomed him aboard to serve in its facility dog program. Sully's duties will be a bit lighter than what he did for the president. Sully's main job will be interacting with patients to help reduce their stress. 6:46 right now. You could say we're reaching new heights here on News 3 Now, or rather the people in this next story are. Imagine climbing 5 miles up the side of a mountain just to ski back down. We'll introduce you to the pair who did that for fun on News 3 Now this morning.
Well, it's a cold morning for March. The temperature outside at 6 degrees, wind chills as cold as 6 degrees below zero. And I think a lot of us are going to see those wind chills get even colder as we go through the day. -11 in Camp Douglas, -5 right now in Black River Falls. But as you plan the day ahead, do expect more sunshine and temperatures to top out around 13 degrees. Josh?
All right, Chris, thank you so much. Well, imagine climbing to the top of a peak more than 5 miles high and skiing all the way back down. It may sound impossible to some, but Jan Crawford hit the slopes with a couple who just made the record books by doing exactly that.
This is one of the reasons I love being in the mountains. It's just beautiful.
The peaks of the San Juan Mountains are some of America's highest. Here at 12,000 feet.
Should we go see where you train?
Yeah.
Adventurers Hillary Nelson and Jim Morrison are going to show us where they trained for the impossible.
Y'all got to take care of me now.
For a novice skier like me, even this flat bit at the top of Telluride Ski Resort was daunting.
Take a deep breath.
But it was the only way to see this view of where the couple pursued a dream.
That's another couloir that shoots down through that rock face, and we ski that quite a bit.
Ski through that thing?
Yes, it's called side country skiing.
Their focus was half a world away, soaring 5 miles in the sky.
That little peak in the back is the 4th highest mountain in the world, right next to Everest there.
That so-called little peak was a 28,000-foot mountain in the Himalayas called Lhotse.
Wow.
And last fall, after 3 years of preparation, they not only climbed up it,
It's just hard.
they did something no one had ever done before.
Up top! Top of the world!
They skied down it. 7,000 feet down its face.
We just skied the Lhotse couloir and the Lhotse face all in one go.
In some of the most variable, challenging, death-defying conditions I've ever experienced.
Vertical drops in uncharted, unimaginable conditions. No room for error.
The smallest thing that goes wrong with your plan can mean a big difference between your eventual success or failure.
Or life and death.
Yeah.
You have to wonder why. What drives people like Nelson and Morrison to push their limits? Nelson grew up playing sports before skiing became her passion.
I think there's something really powerful about being persistent at something. And I think it's really important to live outside of this box we all create around ourselves and tell us what you can and can't do.
Now a mother of 2 boys, she also sees her career as a lesson for life.
More than anything, they understand the lesson is that it's really hard to take that first step.
Just try.
Try, yeah, just try. And you might not be able to do it, but at least you tried. And so then you know how far you can push yourself a little bit further the next time.
Eyes hurt. Lungs hurt more.
Pushing their way up Lhotse came with its share of suffering. But for Morrison, the physical pain on the mountain was nothing compared to the emotional trauma he went through 7 years ago. A trauma that's driven him to scale the world's highest peaks.
I lost my wife and children in a plane crash in 2011, and my world was ended in an instant.
Did you ever think you just can't go on?
Yes.
How do you get through that?
I found a way to get out in the mountains and do something that I loved and do something that I'm passionate about and do something physically active that helped me process my loss.
4 years after the tragedy, while climbing in Nepal, Morrison met Nelson, who had gone through a painful divorce. 6 months later, they began a romantic relationship.
I'd give anything in the world to not have had him go through what you've gone through, but not having that ability to take those things away has made us who we are.
There's Everest.
Morrison's path to healing came full circle last spring, while he was on a peak next to Lhotse, Mount Everest.
I spent about 45 minutes climbing by myself in this place that I was totally connected to my kids, and I felt like I was closer to them than I'd been in years.
Did you talk to them?
I talked to them a little bit. I talked to myself. I giggled and laughed, and I was totally alone at 28,000 feet.
Like you're that close to heaven.
It was like I was on the edge of heaven.
A few months later, Morrison was back on the roof of the world on Lhotse. This time, his companion was the woman who was defining the next chapters of his life.
We had a lot of life to live before we found each other and found our connection, and a lot of good things happen and a lot of bad things happen for both of us, and those are things we share now and understand each other. Are probably better climbing partners and skiing partners because of it.
I think we've been through enough experiences that we really appreciate just being in the moment.
And those moments, now shared together, whether on Lhotse or here in their Rocky Mountain backyard, are pretty spectacular.
There is a full hour of local news ahead for us on News 3 Now this morning. When we come back, we'll have the very latest on today's top stories. But first, here's a preview of what's to come on an all-new For the Record.
Good morning, everybody. Coming up a little later on For the Record, we'll discuss the 2019-2020 state budget proposed this past week by newly elected Governor Tony Evers and its reception by a legislature controlled by the opposition party. It sets up a battle between delivering on promises that got the governor elected and a legislature that retained its majority by opposing those proposals. Offering their insights and predictions will be News 3 Now Assistant News Director Jessica Arp and Wisconsin State Journal editorial page editor Scott Milfred. That's coming up this morning at 10:30 on News 3 Now.
We have a number of young blacks that are doing a number of good things in the city.
He's lived in Madison for most of his life, and now he's sharing his story in an effort to make Madison a better place to live for minorities.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, and thanks for staying with us on this Sunday, March 3rd. I'm Josh Breiter. Meteorologist Chris Reese is talking some nasty cold temperatures moving into the viewing area, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. But first, new overnight, Madison police are looking for the person who shot a 22-year-old man. Officers say they responded to the 1100 block of Mendota Street on the east side around 1 this morning. They didn't find any shell casings, but officers also responded to Meritor Park Hospital, where the man who was shot is still sitting this morning. Anyone with information about the shooting should call Madison area Crime Stoppers. And a first alert traffic note, part of Fish Hatchery Road just north of the Beltline is shut down after a large wreck there. It happened just before 4 o'clock this morning. No word yet on any injuries or what caused that crash. You can stick with Channel3000.com for updates. The IRS says taxpayers are receiving refunds that are about the same size as last year's, even with the new tax reform. On average, taxpayers saw about $40 more this year compared to last. The new figures take into account refunds given out through last week. The last day to file your 2018 taxes is Monday, April 15th. Well, starting this week, you no longer need to drive to Rockford or Chicago for your Italian beef fix. Portillo's is officially celebrating the opening of its newest location at Easttown Mall tomorrow morning at 10:30. This is the franchise's 59th location and its third in Wisconsin. If you're not familiar, Portillo's is best known for its Chicago-style hot dogs, Italian beef sandwiches, burgers, salads, and of course, chocolate cake. And Chris, I think I could go for some chocolate cake right about now. It sounds like a good breakfast to me.
Yeah, that honestly sounds pretty fantastic. I'm hungry too, but you know what? Mother Nature is hungrier for cold air, and that's what we are going to continue to see. Our temperature has actually dropped as we have gone through the past hour from 6, now at 4, with winds still out of the north-northwest at 8. Our wind chill has now dropped towards 9 degrees below zero, 1 in the Dells, -9 in Camp Douglas. And generally, things are a little bit colder as you work your way towards the north and west. That's where the colder air is actually working from. Now, we do have a sliver of counties that do not have wind chill advisories. I think those should be added and could be added later on. It's not like that place is magically going to not be cold. We're going to be cold all around, and we do have the wind chill advisories all throughout south central Wisconsin as well, as these wind chills are going to progressively get colder and colder going through the day. -11 in the Dells is what it feels like, but it feels close to -30 as you work your way up towards Camp Douglas, and things are going to get perhaps as cold as -31 as we head into the start of your work week. And of course, a lot of schools do close around -25. So this is going to be something that we're going to have to watch into tomorrow morning just to make sure everyone's bundled up and safe. Josh?
All right, Chris, thank you. It is 7:03 right now. If the weather's kept your kids inside this weekend, maybe you can encourage them to apply for a new program through FEMA. The federal agency is now taking applications for kids to join its Youth Preparedness Council. It'll bring together young leaders who are interested in supporting disaster preparedness. They'll meet with FEMA staff to give their input on the agency's projects. Those projects are put in motion year-round, not just when disasters strike.
We have a lot of events that happen in our region, a lot of flooding, winter weather, things that, happen every year. So we want to be able to build that resilience in local communities, and getting the youth involved is one of the best ways to do that.
Apply, and applications are due by March 31st. There's a link to the application on our website, Channel3000.com. A growing number of people are getting killed simply walking down the street. A new report shows U.S. roads are becoming more dangerous for pedestrians. Data from the Governor's Highway Safety Association estimates more than 6,200 pedestrians were killed on U.S. roads last year. That's part of a 35% increase over 10 years. One reason for the increase is because people are walking more. Another factor, Americans are driving larger vehicles. Deaths involve SUVs have increased 50% since 2013.
Most pedestrian crashes are taking place on local roads. They're happening at night. They're happening away from intersections.
Streets are also wider with longer blocks, and people tend to run across where they shouldn't. Advocates would like to see more crosswalks and better lighting to make roads safer. If it feels like you're spending more time behind the wheel, it's because you probably are. A new study shows the average American is spending more time driving. New research from AAA reveals Americans are spending an extra 20 minutes driving each week compared to 5 years ago. AAA says a number of factors are slowing things down on the road. A stronger economy has more people buying cars, and with lower gas prices, they're driving more. All that leads to more congestion, especially in large cities with longer commutes.
Maybe it's even actually adjusting your commute time, so you're actually traveling a little earlier in the morning, try to avoid some of that congestion.
AAA says drivers in the West spend the most time driving at nearly an hour a day, followed by drivers in the Northeast who are on the road about 51 minutes daily.
Well, I care because half of South Madison is related to me.
That is Dr. Richard Harris, Uncle Rich to some. He's a kind, smart man who wants to see Madison change for the better when it comes to dealing with racism. As Charlotte DeLeste shows us, he's using his words to do something good for all of his brothers and sisters in the city he calls home.
Once you learn how to love at home, it spreads outside the house.
On any given Sunday morning, you can find Dr. Richard Harris here at Mount Zion Baptist Church in Madison. He comes here to learn, be educated, and feel the love shared by everyone here. This is like home for him, a special place where he married his wife Maxine back in 1961. And like this choir, he's using his own voice to spread the love, but in his own way.
I went to Central High School.
For the most part, Madison has been a welcoming home to him, but there are things he wants to change for the better.
On one hand, Madison's a beautiful city. 4 lakes or 3 lakes, whatever it is, and beautiful medical facilities, etc. Has some wonderful people. But what strikes me the most about Madison will be its legacy on racism.
It's been woven into the fabric of Madison since he can recall. In fact, he was about 6 years old when he started to notice the color of his skin.
This was probably about 1943 when it really impacted me. When I noticed when they talked about white and colored, it wasn't black back in those days.
This was the first of many racial awakenings. They're what shaped the man he is today. Growing up in South Madison, he's been in the thick of it, fighting for change in the workforce, in affordable housing, and in schools. This is his legacy.
I'm 81 right now, so I think I'm probably not going to be doing too much fighting because I couldn't find a job in Madison.
But Dr. Harris is doing a lot of talking, and sometimes doing something good means saying something you might not want to hear.
I have a feeling that Madison, Wisconsin is heading for a tremendous racial problem.
So Harris is giving presentations on his book, Growing Up Black in South Madison. It's his way of trying to wake up people to change and the hope a new Madison College campus on the South Side can bring to minorities.
We are using the proceeds from my book, Growing Up Black in South Madison. 50% goes to Madison College in a scholarship that's in my name, the Dr. Richard Harris Scholarship. And I am so proud.
Creating a better future for others in South Madison, those he doesn't know, and the brothers and sisters he can't do without.
My friend Malayla Chikasa would say it takes a village. It takes a number of people, both black and white, who are well-meaning, well-intentioned, who want to do something good in the sense of dealing with racism.
Let us all sing together.
That was Charlotte DeLeste reporting. Again, half of all proceeds from Dr. Harris's book, Growing Up Black in South Madison, go to the Madison College Scholarship in his name. You can find his book on Amazon. And if you know of someone doing something good, we'd love to hear about it. You can nominate them at channel3000.com/do something good. More local news now. There's a way you can help out the Dane County Humane Society by going shopping this weekend. The shelter has opened a thrift store on Grand Canyon Drive, formerly the site of their satellite adoption center. The grand opening celebration will continue until Monday, March 10th with special deals and raffles. Weekend shoppers can also meet adoptable animals.
It's amazing. We're all walking around with big smiles on our faces. It's so nice to see the community come out. The donations have been pouring in. Sales have been great.
The store is always in need of donations and volunteers. For more information, visit our Channel 3000 mobile app. Well, we have a cure for cabin fever for kids and parents this weekend. The Madison Kids Expo at the Alliant Energy Center has everything to entertain kids, from a petting zoo and performance stage to bouncy houses and pony rides. Kids can also sit in a fire truck and break boards using a martial arts technique. For parents, it's just a good way to get out of the house. The Kids Expo continues today from 10 until 4. Just about 11 minutes past 7 right now, and it's certainly another day you'll want to stay inside as we're going to see another cool down here this week. Here's a live look outside. Chris is tracking the latest on the wind chill readings heading into the new week. This is News 3 Now this morning.
Well, we did see a little bit more in the way of snowfall around here yesterday. Madison officially getting 1.6 inches of snow. Reedsburg at 2 inches. A lot of folks between that 1 to 2 inch range. But that puts us officially at 53.1 inches of snow for the season. On average, we get 50.9 inches of snow. So we are certainly above average here. And we are still talking about winter. We do have wind chill advisories for just about all of us. Richland County and Grant County not included in those wind chill advisories. There's a little sliver of counties that are missing from the advisory as of now, but I do think those may get added later on. As we look across the upper Midwest as a whole, wind chill warnings go from the Dakotas through western Minnesota, south to central Nebraska, and towards parts of Montana as well. Then you have the winter storm warnings and the winter weather advisories that go through Kansas, parts of Arkansas and Oklahoma and Texas, even into the Ohio Valley. So a lot of the country being impacted by wintry weather as we speak. We're going to watch this system slide to our south and eventually impact the East Coast, but we are going to be staying under the control of high pressure as we go through the next couple of days. And that high pressure is going to work to keep us colder. It's already doing so. 4 degrees in Madison right now, 12 as you work your way down towards Janesville and Beloit, -9 as you work your way towards the north in Camp Douglas right now. And those colder temperatures that are just to the north and west are going to be working their way farther south, along with the colder wind chill. So it feels like 29 degrees below in Camp Douglas. La Crosse, it feels like 23 degrees below, and all of us could eventually feel like 25 to 35 below, especially as we go through tomorrow morning. The reason for that, this massive cold air over southern Canada is really going to envelop the northern half of the country as we go through the next couple of days. And so expect that to really bring a lot of that colder air in before it lifts out. So hour by hour, here's how temperatures will play out for us. We'll top out around 13 today, but cool down towards -10 later on tonight. Actual wind chills later on tonight could be as much as -30 to -35. So folks, it is certainly going to be rather cold out there. In fact, that is why we do have 3 alert days in your forecast for that cold. We gradually begin to warm things up though towards the end of the week, along with the chance of snow towards next weekend. Some chances for snow earlier next week as well, but temperatures begin to moderate, perhaps above freezing by next Tuesday.
Oh, all right. Well, just looking at that sunshine, that's at least something there.
It's March and we're saying perhaps above freezing. You know the average temperature is 38 right now?
Wow.
Yeah.
But even like 25 degrees with sunshine, like even yesterday didn't feel that bad in the afternoon.
I think it'll be nice to truly get some sunshine around here. It's been so gray for so long. So put your smile on, folks.
We deserve
and enjoy
it.
that sunshine that we do have coming in.
All right, Chris, thank you. We've been asking you to share your morning with us, and Carol posted this on Facebook of Reedsburg. You can see all of the snow still covering the vehicles there. Yeah, we've had a lot of that this summer. Thank you so much for sharing, Carol. What does your morning look like? Take a picture and post it to our Channel 3000 social media pages using the hashtag MyNews3Morning. Well, predictions suggest southwestern Wisconsin could see high waters once again this spring. The National Weather Service in La Crosse is forecasting an above normal flood risk along the Mississippi River and its tributaries through May. Officials say the deeply frozen ground and snow could cause more runoff in the area. The severity of the flooding will depend on how quickly the snow melts and how much rain the region gets over the next few months. Looking ahead, Madison's Willie Street Co-op is hosting a special March Madness event. But this bracket is about locally produced cheese instead of basketball. Anyone can participate in the contest by filling out a bracket online or at the store. In-store taste tests begin March 21st. The person with a bracket closest to the results will win 8 pounds of free cheese. The Wisconsin basketball team still has their eyes on the big prize after a win against Penn State Saturday. The team kicked off the afternoon by honoring Otto Puls. Puls has served as a Wisconsin official scorekeeper for 55 years. The scores table now bears his name. Into the action, Brevin Pritzel led his way to 17 points. Pritzel came off the bench to sink plenty of threes to help the Badgers win 61-57. Afterwards, Penn State head coach Pat Chambers said he made all the difference for Wisconsin, and Badgers agreed.
It was a little more animated, but it was deservedly so for how we played in the first half. A lot of it was about toughness. Being outworked on the boards is never a thing that we can allow, and that was kind of what Penn State was getting in the first half.
It's kind of a blow to your ego. Like nobody wants to be called soft or not tough. I mean, that's just something we pride ourselves on, is making the toughness plays, doing whatever it takes to win. And we found a way. We righted the ship, and that's what helped us win this game.
The Badgers have now won 20 games this season. Next up, senior night on Thursday at the Kohl Center, where Wisconsin will host Iowa at 6 p.m. 7:19 is your time right now. Umbrellas aren't just for the rain anymore. For one Madison area community, we'll show you the new meeting they have for students and their mental health. Plus, there are new concerns about HIV infections in the U.S. and another health benefit associated with breastfeeding. We'll explain on Health Watch here on News 3 Now this morning.
It's a cold morning out there. Temperatures continue to drop here across south central Wisconsin, now at 4 degrees, and the wind chill at -9 here in town. But we are going to see more in the way of some sunshine, so that'll hopefully make things feel just a little bit better. Kenosha, the big winner at 17 right now, but we go up towards Camp Douglas, and it is -9. So quite a temperature spread that we do have from northwest to south and east. Things will get a little bit better per se as we go through the day. Temperatures are only going to top out in the low teens, but on the bright side, we will see some additional sunshine as we go into the afternoon. Josh?
All right, sun is good, Chris. Thank you. 7:23 right now, and on the Health Watch this morning, some children who are exclusively breastfed in the first 3 months of life are much less likely to have the skin condition eczema later in childhood. That's according to a new study from the Children's National Health System that looked at the diets of pregnant women and then the diets and health of their children at 6 years old. A study of more than 250,000 births show mothers who take steroid treatments are more likely to deliver underweight babies, whether the birth is premature or full term. Steroid treatment is used to develop an unborn baby's lungs when the mother is at risk of premature birth. The CDC says the number of HIV infections nationwide is no longer declining, but has stalled. A new report finds HIV cases have increased among African Americans and Latinos. The CDC says effective HIV prevention and treatment are not reaching people who can benefit from it most in rural areas and in the South. There's a new partnership between the Mount Horeb School District and that city's mental health coalition. It's all to help kids in that community. It's called the Plaid Umbrella Project, the umbrella representing a safe place where people can huddle together. This is in response to 3 young people dying by suicide in that city over the last year, including a 10-year-old boy.
We see the umbrella as a sign of protection and ultimately a sign of compassion. And so we want folks to know that they can come underneath that umbrella with us and they'll find compassion.
The green stripes on the logo represent those who live with mental illness, while the blue and orange stripes symbolize support from the school district and the coalition. 7:25 right now. There's more local news ahead for us this morning, and we'll tell you when Michael Cohen will resume testimony on Capitol Hill. And the group of Wisconsin veterans is leaving Vietnam this morning, but not before making new memories of the place that's haunted many since the war. We'll explain on News 3 Now this morning.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for staying with us on this Sunday, March 3rd. I'm Josh Breiter. Meteorologist Chris Reese is talking a wind chill advisory over the next few days. We'll get to that in just a bit, but first, new overnight, Madison police are looking for the person who shot a 22-year-old man. Officers say they responded to the 1100 block of Mendota Street on the east side around 1 this morning. They didn't find any shell casings, but officers also responded to the Meriter Park Hospital, where the man who was shot is still this morning. Anyone with information about the shooting should call Madison area Crime Stoppers. Also overnight, part of Fish Hatchery Road just north of the Beltline was shut down after a large wreck there. It happened just before 4 o'clock this morning. No word yet on any injuries or what caused the crash. Stay with Channel3000.com for updates. FEMA is now taking applications for kids to join its Youth Preparedness Council. It'll bring together young leaders who are interested in supporting disaster preparedness. They'll meet with FEMA staff to give their input on the agency's projects. Students in 8th through 11th grades are encouraged to apply, and those applications are due by March 31st. Well, be sure to fill out your bracket this weekend, but this one's not for basketball. It's about cheese. The Willie Street Co-op is hosting a special March Madness event called the Cheese Challenge. Anyone can fill out a bracket for free online. In-store taste tests begin March 21st. The person with a bracket closest to the results will win 8 pounds of free cheese. Chris, I don't even know what 8 pounds of cheese looks like, but that seems like a lot.
I know. I'm over here shaking my head. As much as I like cheese, that's just a little excessive, kind of like this winter has been for a lot of folks out there. It's still cold, and it's March at this point. The temperature 4 degrees and the wind chill -9 out there this morning. 12 as you work your way towards Janesville, Watertown at 6, Juneau and Fond du Lac both at 2. And then you have Camp Douglas, who has been the cold winter all morning long, at -9 with their air temperature, and then their wind chill -29. And those colder wind chills that you see just to the north and west, those are all going to be working their way into the south and east parts of the state as we go through the day. So we do have wind chill advisories that are going to go all the way throughout Tuesday morning. And so the reason that's important is at this point, being outside for any extended amount of time could actually begin to cause harm to you. So be mindful of that. We could see wind chills as cold as -31 by the time we get you towards Monday morning, and then pretty much the same story as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday as well. But as you plan your day today, do expect actual air temperatures to top out around 13. We will begin to see some sunshine later on this afternoon as well. There's a little bit of cloud cover out there. I do think that'll break up as high pressure continues to take over our weather. Let's go ahead and show you guys first alert traffic out there. This is the Beltline at Park Street. Things are still moving along smoothly there. We are also starting to see improvements just north of Fish Hatchery. So far, no issues showing up on the maps now that things from earlier this morning have been cleared. Josh?
All right, Chris, thank you. More local news this morning. The city of Sun Prairie will discuss an anti-bullying ordinance at a meeting this week, which would allow police officers to actually issue citations for any form of bullying. It would apply to any harassment that is physical, verbal, or even online. Sun Prairie parents who support the ordinance say they want a way to hold other parents accountable if their children bully other students. A spokesperson for the school district says administrators haven't taken a stance on the ordinance yet. It will be discussed during the Youth and Family Commission on Thursday. Michael Cohen will return to Capitol Hill this week for more testimony. He made the announcement after several straight days of both public and private questioning last week. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff said this week's testimony would be behind closed doors starting Wednesday. Well, President Trump and Kim Jong-un's summit in Vietnam this week coincided with a pilgrimage by U.S. service members. Most who served in Vietnam have never been back. Some have no interest. But for others, returning is a crucial part of the healing process. CBS's Scott Pelley spent time with the veterans, including several from Wisconsin.
Programs, get your programs. You can't tell the players without a program.
52 U.S. veterans from Wisconsin.
Now, on your right side is the U.S. consulate. This place used to be the U.S. embassy before 1975.
Back in Vietnam for the first time.
Today we have the city tour around Saigon.
This tour is far different than the last.
Maybe some of you remember the picture of the tank on the last day of the Vietnam War.
It began with a war finished at the presidential palace in Ho Chi Minh City, or as many still call it, Saigon.
The bulletin has just come in from Saigon. The war is over. South Vietnam's new president, Duong Van Big Minh, has announced an unconditional surrender to the Viet Cong.
What does it mean to be here where it all ended?
It hurts.
Marine Sergeant Wayne Perrette served 3 tours.
I was born and raised on a farm. I never had anybody shoot at me until I got here, when I got to Vietnam.
What the hell does that do to a 19-year-old kid?
A 19-year-old kid shouldn't have been here. Back then, fighting a war. What do I know about war back then at 19?
This is stressful, especially when you get close to the place you served, and we want to make sure we take all that stress out. If you're feeling emotional, you want to walk off with somebody, grab one of us.
Try to remove all the stress you want. There are demons that endure.
We got into a fight. It was up in the DMZ, and there was a young man he was dead. And I went through his pockets, and he had a picture of his wife and his children. That hit home. Boy, did it ever. He was no different than I was. He had a family. It's hard to live a life. And when you see this stuff every night, it's hard to sleep.
Nightmares.
Oh, yes. Big time. And it helps me a lot of times just to talk about Vietnam. Like I said, it'll tear me up, but it gets here out of my chest, gets it out. And I get rid of some of that stuff.
For Wayne Perrette and thousands of others, time goes by. It doesn't go away.
My nightmares aren't as pronounced as they were when I first got out, but I still get them.
Does this trip here help take some away?
I sure hope so. I sure hope so.
And those veterans are flying home today. More local news now. Madison just celebrated its 25th anniversary with its sister city of Camagüey, Cuba, and a group of local professional musicians got to mark the milestone. Madison's sister city relationship with Camagüey includes humanitarian assistance like the Wisconsin Medical Project and also group cultural trips. This year, that relationship blossomed into a musical conversation.
When you show up in a place like Camagüey, which has a sense of its culture, an appreciation for music, an appreciation for jazz, for good music, and you show up with 10 American jazz musicians, something's going to happen.
Tomorrow on News 3 Now This Morning, photojournalist Melissa Bailing will share the highlights from the jazz performances, helping to bridge the gap between Madison and Cuba. Well, it turns out being the National League MVP comes with a few perks. Brewers outfielder and reigning MVP Christian Yelich will be a guest star on the CBS show Magnum P.I. tomorrow night. Yelich tweeted out a couple of pictures from his appearance last week, rather. He flew out to Hawaii for a few days in January to shoot the cameo, which also includes the Little League World Series champion team from Honolulu. Yelich told the Milwaukee Journey-Sentinel he had the fun played himself in the episode. You can see Yelich on tomorrow's episode starting at 8 o'clock, only CBS. 7:37 right now. Madison's largest bike sale and expo is a week away, and this morning we're getting an early show from one of the event's stunt performers. Robbie Funder and his mountain bike are back in the News 3 Now studio this morning performing some wicked stunts. Keep watching News 3 Now This Morning.
It is a cold morning for March here in south central Wisconsin. The temperature right now 4 degrees in Madison with a wind chill of 9 degrees below zero. There is a little bit of cloud cover out there, but as we go through the morning, do expect things to get better in quotation marks here. We'll see some sunshine at least, but temperatures will top out right around 13 for afternoon highs.
All right, 7:41 right now. Robbie Thunder makes it all look easy, performing stunts on his mountain bike at expos all across the country. And he's in Madison this week ahead of next weekend's bike sale and expo at the Alliant Energy Center. But first, he's going to perform some tricks right here in our News 3 studios. Good morning, Rob. Welcome back.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Good, good.
Years, how time flies.
I
huh?
know, yeah, it's good to have you back here again. And first off, tell us a little bit about why you're back in town.
So I'm actually back in town because I'm going to be riding at Bike-O-Rama, which is Madison's largest sale and expo, coming up in just about a week here. So this sale is super cool. They got everything under the sun, everything under one roof that you could want. But I'm going to be in one of the corners performing some stunt shows on my bike here.
Which are easy, right?
Yeah, they're totally easy. Just about 20 years experience. Yeah, so
talk a little bit about the importance of the expo, kind of why, it's important, especially for kids. I know a lot of people like this, get out there and do something.
Well, it's not just about the bikes and the sales going on. There's actually a lot of community events. So there's all sorts of different stuff you can check out. They got fundraiser rides, booth setup, if you want to get involved in, rides to raise money for cancer. If you want to get involved in mountain biking, road biking, they have all types of group ride associations there. They're also going to have a big e-bike testing session, so you can go test an e-bike, which stands for electronic bike. They're going to have free test rides there, and if you get involved with the test ride on an e-bike, they're actually going to have a giveaway as well, which you could have a chance to win a free e-bike, which is pretty sweet. Nice. Who doesn't like a free bike? Right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to the action here. You're going to use our little space here in the studio.
So typically, I'm set up at the convention center, which is at the New Holland Pavilion Center, Alliant Energy Center, but I'm going to be set up with this bike with a bunch of portable obstacles. So the fun part is I actually don't have any obstacles today, so we have to create a human obstacle. So why don't we get one of you fine gentlemen?
Chris? And that is why I am here. All right.
All right.
What are we doing?
I'm going to get out of the way. So what we're going to have you do is kind of lay down in a pencil here.
Okay. I knew this was happening. All right.
So you're going to get right down on the ground. So we're going to have you get kind of nice and tight there with your arms. Okay, here we go. So first thing I like to do is test my brakes. So I'm actually going to roll right out here.
You know, this is kind of similar to making a snow angel.
Let's get a big run up here. Okay, let's test the brakes real quick.
All right.
There we go. Okay. Now let's see. I have to get a big jump here. We're going to balance in place. See how close we can get that front tire.
All right, sounds
good.
Here we go. If I die, we have insurance, right? Oh nice.
My.
Let's get that front wheel kind of down. How's that tire looking?
Looks pretty great. Nice tread. Great for the snow, I'm sure.
Awesome. All right. I think that's going to wrap up that. Here.
Nice.
We're all set.
Thank you.
Oh. Well, you did it, Chris.
Yeah, we did it. I'm still here. What do you know?
There you go. All right, so.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, that was excellent. So
that was awesome.
People can check out more of that next weekend. We have a graphic up right now, so the final kind of information, I guess, for folks out there.
Yeah, so Bike-O-Rama is going to be held Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Convention Center. And at the Alliant Energy Center, you can check out me, check out all the other stuff going on. They're going to have all sorts of vendors, answer all kinds of questions you could want to set you up for 2019. So it's going to be awesome.
All right. Yep. Well, Robbie, thanks for coming back, and good job, Chris.
Yeah.
You did it. You survived.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
All right. Well,
until next year.
Yeah, until next year.
Get some fresh blood in here.
7:44 right now, and I wish it was more of a forecast for biking outside. Let's take a live look over the Capitol and downtown. Chris is talking some more extreme cold coming up in his full forecast. But first, we want to wish a happy birthday to James and all the other kiddos turning 3 today. Thanks for celebrating with us on News 3 Now this morning.
Well, if it isn't March, it is winter. If one thing is for sure, we still have winter weather headlines to talk about here in South Central Wisconsin. This time it's for extreme cold. We have wind chill advisories for just about everyone in the viewing area except for Juneau, Adams, and then Richland and Grant counties at the moment. But I do think those will get added as we go through time. As we zoom things out, the entire upper Midwest is under essentially wind chill advisories or wind chill warnings, except for that sliver through Wisconsin. So I do think it's going to be added later on. It's not like it's just magically not going to be cold there. As we work our way to the south, we do have winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories throughout Kansas, parts of Oklahoma and Arkansas, even throughout Kentucky, and then winter storm warnings on the east coast as well. So what you're actually seeing is the setup of an Arctic high bringing the cold to the north with regions of low pressure bringing snow just on the edge of that. And so you can actually see that beginning to play out with this system that we are tracking throughout the Ohio Valley and towards the east. We're going to be staying in the sunshine, though things will be very cold. In fact, it is already cold underneath this high pressure. A little cloudy out there, yes, but the temperature 4 degrees and a wind chill of -9 right now. We still see those winds out of the north and northwest at about 8 miles per hour. 2 as you work your way up towards the Dells, Viroqua at -3, Decorah, Iowa at -8 right now. The wind chill there -26. And to the north and west, we see a lot of those wind chills that are -20 or colder. And all of that's gradually going to be working its way towards the south and east in due time, just because we do have this massive Arctic air over much of the northern tier of the country, and it's going to be staying there until we get you through about Wednesday or so before things finally begin to lift up. So 13 for your high today. Overnight tonight, we'll see those lows right around -10 or so, and then throughout the day tomorrow, not really getting above 6 degrees. Wind chills throughout tomorrow morning could be right around 31 degrees below zero, and then into Tuesday morning upwards of 15 to 25 degrees below zero as well. So we are certainly going to be feeling the cold as we go through the next couple of days. And so we have 3 alert days in your forecast simply for the cold. Gradually beginning to warm up though. Check it out. By Wednesday, we could see those temperatures around 20 degrees, but then making it to the 30s by the weekend with some chances for snow. So with the weather that we've had lately, I know a lot of folks are looking for something different. So here's Zoe in Lodi looking to see what the weather is today. Unfortunately, Zoe, it is the exact same as it has been for the past several months, but at least we will see some sunshine. I said several months. That's just what it's felt like, but several weeks of weather around here.
Yeah, it's been rough. At least there's some sunshine there, though.
We all need the sunshine. Finally, that cloud cover going to break up for a little bit, but it does come at the cost of the extreme cold.
All right, Chris, thank you.
Anytime.
Well, stay with News 3 Now this weekend, and then join us tomorrow morning as we explain how organizations are trying to keep up with helping those in need during the ongoing winter cold. But first, on our news this morning, grab a chair and take a seat at Mr. Jack's table. We'll introduce you to the man who's been eating at his neighborhood IHOP every day for more than 30 years. This is News 3 Now this morning. But first, we want to wish a happy birthday to James and all the other kiddos turning 3 years old today. Thanks for celebrating with us right here on the show. Welcome back at 7:54. We all have that one person who has made our lives better just by knowing them. That is the case for employees at the IHOP in College Station, Texas.
For more than 30 years, one man has been showing up every single day. Jessica Grenling introduces us to Mr. Jack.
Oh, Lordy.
Breakfast at this IHOP is served with a side of joy.
He brings a pleasure to us, just seeing him walk in the door.
Almost every day for the last 34 years, you'll find Mr. Jack sitting here. Sometimes 3 times a day.
February the 1st, 1985, I retired from the Bryan Post Office. And so I came up here, and I just happened to sit at table 12. This is table 12, and I've been here nearly every day ever since.
The staff has become family.
And we have a good time up here.
It means a lot to each and every one of us when he comes.
Even if they only know his first name.
They don't know if I'm Jack Spratt or Jack Frost. Since I live by myself, I have my obituary pretty well written out. I got it Jack, parenthesis, Mr. Jack Warbington, so that if somebody up here sees it, they'll know that I croaked.
Until then, he'll be here.
I don't know how many more years I'll be able to come up here, but I'll come up here as long as I can.
He says it keeps him young, even if outsiders disagree.
One of my bowling ladies, when she found out that I've been sitting here 34 years, well, she says that I'm in a rut.
A rut he's happy to be in. At 89 years old, Mr. Jack has spent basically his whole life in Bryan College Station.
August, I'll be living in Bryan 82 years. I'm glad to see that I live long enough that I understand A&M is the largest university in Texas now. We finally beat TU in something.
While things on the outside will continue to change, inside this IHOP, one thing will stay the same.
I tell them that they should put a plaque on this that says Mr. Jack's table.
In College Station, Jessica Grunling, News 3.
Now that is some routine for 30 years.
Seriously, but I guess it's good breakfast.
There you go.
Keeps them coming back.
Good pancakes.
Every single day, yeah. We are still dealing with the cold in the meantime. That's what
good
keeps
comfort
coming
food
back
weather,
for us.
right?
Seriously, eat something warm while you're out there, especially tomorrow morning as you head out. Wind chills could be around negative 31.
Yeah.
Again, now if this were January, it would be like, oh, okay, it's January, but it's March. And so that is why this is going to be problematic for a lot of folks as we head into Tuesday morning. Wind chills around negative 15 to negative 20 to 25 or so. So we have alert days for today, tomorrow, and Tuesday, all for the cold. Once we get beyond that, we do begin to moderate things towards the end of the week with temperatures above 0, a snow chance on Friday, and then perhaps temperatures above freezing by next week. We'll celebrate when that day happens.
Yes, we will. All right, thanks for joining us, everyone. Make it a great Sunday.